Talking with the experts.
Find out how to convert more new clients on your sales calls in a non-pushy way with Jessie Quinby Hearns in episode 288.
Again, I think it's plain conversation. It's like, I appreciate this information, but I'm not ready right now. So, just when I'm ready, I'll let you know. I mean, I always remind clients, you want to really walk in their shoes. You were totally right about that. You want to walk in your client's shoes. Remember their journey. Like buyers are so smart these days. There's a world of information out there, right? And so no one wants to be sold to, but when people are ready to buy, they want help, right? So I really see that, like, we as a business, the sales call may be part of that learning journey for the client. So if someone's not ready to buy, totally fine. But if somebody were trying to pushy sales me, I'd be like, hey guys, thank you very much. I mean, I appreciate it. I'm in sales. They're not ready.
Welcome to Talking with the Experts. This is where we discuss great ideas to take your business to the next level. How do we know these ideas work? Well, it's because we're talking with business owners who are using these ideas. Business owners who have years of experience and expertise. All things business by business owners for business owners. And now, here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to Talking with the Experts. I'm your host, Rose Davidson from rosedavidson.com. Talking with the Experts is about all things business by business owners for business owners. You can catch it on all good podcasting streaming platforms and on YouTube. Now, do you like to be sold to? Do you like those sales conversations? No, I don't. And my next guest, Jessie Hearns, is going to be talking to us about how to convert more new clients on your sales calls in a non-pushy way. Now, Jessica comes from the corporate world of sales with over 25 years of experience. And she has taken what she has personally practiced and has taught to hundreds of people through the years and now shares that with small business owners around the world. Jessie focuses on authentic conversations and heartfelt connections with potential clients. She makes sure that the selling process aligns with the business owner so they can optimize their sales success while cultivating true client ambassadors. Welcome, Jessie, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Rose. It's awesome to be here. Thanks so much.
So why did you decide to teach this to other business owners?
Oh gosh, because it was not my ambition to be a salesperson a long time ago. I had the same thoughts as everybody else. Like, sales is so yucky and salespeople are sleazy and pushy. And this opportunity crossed my path. And it was honestly a really great opportunity to help more people. I was in a marketing job and it just wasn't terribly fulfilling. And so I knew nothing about sales. And I ended up taking the leap and I went into sales, but I had no one to teach me. And I was a little bit quiet and introverted. And I had to figure out a way to do it in a way that worked for me. And so I figured it out. And I really recognized that connecting with people authentically, like building a real relationship with somebody, was what they were looking for. Like I tried sales scripts and I tried all kinds of things and it didn't work for me. So I personally have experienced how sales can transform your life. And I just know there's so many small business owners out there who were like me, if you're a business, you need to sell to have your business, right? And so many people probably feel like I did, where it just feels yucky to think about selling. So how do you reconcile those two things? Like, I need to sell to have my business, but I feel so yucky doing it. And so I'm really passionate about showing people that there's a different way. And that's how I got started. And so,
Excellent.
Yeah.
I don't like being sold to, but on the other side of the coin, I don't like to have those. I love to have conversations, but the selling conversation is quite difficult for me. I find it it's not so cut and dried because, you've got those objections. And
Yeah.
it's the objection part that I find difficult to deal with. How do we deal with, someone who's putting up those barriers and those objections?
I think objections are really interesting. When you get to a point where someone is sharing an objection with you, I think an objection is a couple different things. One, it could be that they really, like, people are polite. They don't like to tell you no. So they'll throw something up, right? So they don't want to say, "Oh no, I'm not really interested in what you have." So they'll say, "Oh, I really just need to think about it." So truly, it could be that they're not interested, and um, they just want to remove themselves in a way that's not going to hurt you, right? So that's number one. Or two, it could be that really they're thinking about what you're offering, but they're thinking about it, right? Like they have to process how to fit what you're talking about, what your offer is, into their life. And how do they do that? So to me, I think an objection oftentimes is someone just streaming their thoughts to you, like, "Oh gosh, now I'm thinking about this and I need to either talk to my partner, or I need to figure out how I'm going to pay for this, or I got to figure out how this is going to fit into my schedule." And they're just sharing that with you. So for me, I feel like when they share an objection with you, you really just want to understand where they're coming from. And a lot of times I feel like if you can just slow the conversation back down again and ask some questions like, "I totally understand what you're saying. Can you just share a little bit more about that with me?" And you get them talking through. I see that part of the sales conversation, you as the business owner really become the problem solver. Like you're trying to talk through whatever it is that's going on in their mind that they're struggling with, and see if you can help bridge whatever the gap is. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. But
yeah,
sometimes I guess it's hard to think in the moment, when
it is.
especially when you're first starting and someone,
Mhm.
puts up that objection and you think, "Oh my God, what have I done wrong? How can I get past this objection?"
Yep.
So, what would be your advice on that?
Yeah. It's so true. So I think a lot of times people feel like they get that objection, and it's like, "Oh gosh, you feel the sales conversation, you feel the whole conversation just dies," right? Like it just stops. So I would say, listen, just take a deep breath and say, "Hey, I totally understand that. Can you just tell me a little bit more about what you're thinking?" Like, just prompt them. Just tell me more about that. If you know, "I'm not going to be offended if this is not for you. No problem. It's okay. But just talk to me about what you're thinking in the moment." And they may say, "Look, I really just need to think about it." And I would say, "Okay, I respect that." I- if you had to tell me at the moment, like, what's the one thing you're going to be thinking about? Because I want to make sure that I haven't left something out, left something unexplained. Like, we have these conversations and we think we're being clear. Like, we're in our business all the time, but maybe there's something that they haven't understood properly. And I always like to tell people, I I need to take it on myself to be sure that I've done a good job to explain everything to you. And if I've left any gaps, I want to be sure that I've answered everything for you.
So is it, advisable to have a sales script beside you when you have your calls?
I don't love sales scripts. I started with the sales script. So I guess it depends on what you're thinking as a sales script. I was given a sales script when I first started selling, and I was selling face to face with people. So I actually had to memorize the script. And I was thinking so hard about the next question that I was supposed to ask that I couldn't even receive in the answer that they were just telling me. So I was so disconnected from the person. So I was just like, this is not working for me at all. So I ended up taking like 5 or 6 questions that I really liked from that script. And I used those as kind of my crutch to get the conversation going. And so I feel like if you can have 5 or 6 good questions that prompt the person to continue speaking with you, and you kind of have an idea of how the conversation's supposed to flow, like with the steps, I think it's better to actually listen to what the person's saying and then try to be curious about what's going on in their life to ask more questions from what they're saying, just like a conversation. Like you're meeting somebody new, tell me a little bit more about your situation, and get them to talk to you. You want to just absorb as much as you can from them at first. But sometimes it's hard to know how to get that conversation going. And that's where having a few questions can be very helpful.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan, actually.
Yeah, it's not as rigid as a script, because I think scripts can be very, I mean, I have a client who was given a script and it was so, it was kind of hard driving. Scripts are intended to lead someone to a sale. And for me, I honestly say, hey, listen, you're having a conversation. You don't want to think about the end result. Detach yourself from whatever the end result is. You're trying to engage and have a conversation with the person, right? So she was using this script, but her clients were very, it was a very caring niche, very soft niche, where she needed a lot of empathy and a lot of care and concern to what they were saying. So she was completely at odds with the script that she was trying to use. I mean, it just did not work for her business. So, you have to keep that in mind. If you don't feel comfortable with what you're saying, you're not going to do a good job in the conversation. And that's why I say having an aligned conversation, like you want to feel good about what you're saying. You want to have confidence and really feel like you're connecting with someone in a way that's authentic and genuine. That to me is the way that you're going to actually get somewhere with this person, whether it be they're purchasing from you or not. That off the table. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's always difficult though when you've given it your best shot, as in the conversation, and you've asked the questions, you've reinforced what the prospective client has said, so you've repeated back to them some of their own words, and still they are umming and ahhing, and as the seller you sort of run out of ideas on how you can prompt this person. What is a good strategy for that?
Yeah, so like I say, to me, for what I teach people and what I would guide you to all the small business owners out there, like, don't think about it as a sales call. It is and it's not, but take the selling off the table. Take that I'm trying to get this person as a client. Take it out of your mind and have a conversation to just find out what journey this person has been on. They're on a call with you for a reason. They're struggling with something, and it's likely has to do with what you offer, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't be on a call with you. But as the call unfolds, you're also trying to assess if they're the right fit for what you have. It's not that you know that, and you don't want everybody as a client. Some people are not a good match. So if you actually have a conversation and you really ask questions to find out, like, what are they looking for? Like, truly, what are they looking for? And you make it through the conversation and you get to the end and they're still hemming and hawing. It could be like, listen, I believe in plain conversation. Like, I just think a plain conversation. So if I hear someone hemming and hawing, I would say, listen, I hear in your voice some reluctance. So talk to me about, like, I've shared with you what I do, and we've talked about what you're looking for. Are you seeing that this is not a match for you? I'm curious. I'd like to know. And again, you're getting them to talk, because when you hear what they're saying, maybe they don't see you as a match. But isn't that good for you to know as a business owner? Maybe they're sharing some gold with you that you want to think about. Oh gosh, I haven't thought about including that in my offer. And if you start to see a trend that people are needing that from a provider, maybe it's time to think about, oh, maybe I need another module in my course, or maybe I need to accommodate this need that people aren't serving. So I feel like that's equally as valuable as trying to close them as a client. You're building a relationship, and even at the end, like I think people really appreciate that honesty. Like if I said to you, Rose, I don't feel like you're really on board, and that's okay, but just tell me what's going on in your mind that I'm not a good fit for you. And you're going to be like, oh, I'm happy to talk to you about that. I'm like, your guard comes down because you're not being sold to. You're just having a conversation. And as a business owner, it's your time to learn, because your clients are the people who tell you what you should be doing to serve them.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah.
When you get to the end of the conversation,
Yeah.
and what about the follow up afterwards? Even if they have made the objection or they have said no, that they're not interested, what about following up even then?
Yeah. Yeah, to me, follow up is key. I always talk about when you have a conversation with someone, they typically end up in three buckets. One, they're a new client. Two, you're going to follow up with them, and maybe they're just not ready right now, or they want, they need to do some things in their life before they're going to be ready. And three, they're not a good fit, but if you've had a great conversation, they may refer people to you, right? So, or maybe they want your free resources or something. So follow up is key. And I like to end sales conversations kind of with a clear path, where it's like, I don't like ending the conversation talking about money or the objections. I like to talk about what that client is looking to do with their life, right? So you want to leave the conversation with, you've shared with me some really important things to you in your life. So I just want to remind you, like, when you commit to making these changes for yourself, these are the sorts of things you're going to see in your life. And that's a really exciting thing. And, I enjoy hearing that from you and cheer you on to that success, right? So you want to leave them with that positive. And then you can say, listen, I know this wasn't right for you today, but I'm going to follow up, and I'm going to just stay in touch with you and share my free content and share my weekly email where I give free tips. Is that okay with you? And they're going to be like, sure. Everybody likes having free information, and you just kind of stay in touch and nurture that relationship. Because a lot of times, if people are not ready now, they may be ready in 3 months or 6 months or even a year or two. They're very valuable people. And if you stay in touch, and you've had a great, authentic, genuine conversation, like real heart-to-heart conversation, they're going to love hearing from you, and they're going to remember that conversation and know that you've cared about them. And that's what it's about.
Yeah, it is. It's to be heart-centered, I guess, and
Yes.
and you put yourself in their shoes, because
Yeah,
you may have been in their position at one time or another, and you're not been ready to
absolutely.
buy from somebody, but and then they've not followed up, so you've forgotten who it was that you had that
Yeah,
conversation with when you
absolutely.
actually need that particular service or product. So I get it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good
yeah.
way to go. Um, one of the other things that as a person who's buying,
Mhm.
and you find there's really pushy salespeople who don't take no for an answer, and that's usually the overseas call centers, and you just end up hanging up on them in frustration
Yes.
because they just
Yes.
won't take no for an answer. How, as a buyer or prospective buyer, how can you get past those types of people who maybe have a product that you want, but you don't need it right this minute?
Again, I think it's plain conversation. It's like, I appreciate this information, but I'm not ready right now. So, just when I'm ready, I'll let you know. I mean, I always remind clients, you want to really walk in their shoes. You were totally right about that. You want to walk in your client's shoes. Remember their journey. Like, buyers are so smart these days. There's a world of information out there, right? And so no one wants to be sold to, but when people are ready to buy, they want help, right? So I really see that, like, we as a business, the sales call may be part of that learning journey for the client. So if someone's not ready to buy, totally fine. But if somebody were trying to pushy sales me, I'd be like, hey guys, thank you very much. I mean, I appreciate it. I'm in sales, but I'm not ready. I'll let you know when I am. I'm happy to buy when I'm ready, but not now.
Yeah.
I put my
um,
hands up and everything.
yes.
Hands up to the
when you have these conversations with your prospective clients, is it advisable to have a spreadsheet or a CRM of some type to make notes so that you may follow up later?
It's funny. I always take notes. I always have like a notepad and I'm always taking notes. To be honest with you, in all of my years of selling, I've just used like a spreadsheet. Yes, I have a follow-up system. Like, so I have a system where my emails live and I can send out weekly emails to them. Yes. But I personally like to keep a spreadsheet of what I would qualify as my top prospects. So somehow or other, as you're talking to people, and I think most small business owners can understand this, you tend to come away from a conversation thinking, in a way, you're mentally ranking people. Like, this person sounded really interesting. And our conversation was, they're not ready now, but they might be ready in 3 or 6 months. So I'm going to put them on my spreadsheet. So I would put them manually on a spreadsheet. And I tend to follow up with those people differently in a little more personal way, not just my weekly emails, but maybe I'll send a voice message every now and then through Messenger or something. I just like to reach out and stay in touch with what I would call my top 5 or my top 10 prospects, in a way that's really even that much more meaningful. So like a CRM, I guess it could work that way, but it's easy enough to do it on a spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
CRMs can be a little bit messy if you don't understand them and how
Yeah.
they work. So so spreadsheet.
I like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can keep notes. I can have, like, the day that I talk to them, their name, their contact information, but I always leave a little section at the end where I can just type in my notes of our conversation. And to be honest with you, when you're talking about your top 5 or 10 prospects, you're going to remember them anyway. And they're just like they remember you. So, and you'll find that people will move off of that. You may follow up and stay in touch with them, and their timing may change. They may fall off, and other people may move on to that list. But I do really like to make that specific follow-up with those folks different and even much more personal.
Yeah. It's got to be a personal approach. I feel like, you can't. I mean, I'm not into cold calling. I don't really like that at all. I think it's to me it's rude when I have to intrude on someone else's day to try and sell something. So that's just my personal view on cold calling. I don't like
I don't like cold calling either. I don't like cold calling either. I liken it to being, we talk about this in my program, but I liken it to being an ice cream truck on a beach. Like, I'm the ice cream truck, and I put myself where people who want ice cream are, and they can see that I'm there. And if they come to the truck, I'll talk to them about what I have, right? But I'm going to put myself where everybody who's looking for me can find me, right? And so that's our social media and all the resources that we have for outreach. We can put ourselves there, but then let them come to us. I feel
that's
that
how
way
I
too.
feel too. Same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. Jen, you alluded to your course, Jessie. Could you explain a little bit more about what that is?
Yeah, so I have an online course, but it also includes some weekly coaching. So it's kind of a blended program. It really helps. It helps small business owners who have either never had sales training or don't really feel good with the training they've had. And it can be that you've never had a sale before, or you are on the sales journey and you just want to increase your sales. But it really helps walk through the entire sales conversation, from starting with mindset around money and mindset around sales, and just really trying to tweak in all of the things that are so important. Sales is such a mindset game. So it starts with mindset, goes through all the different steps of that sales call so that you don't need a script. And it takes you to, the enrollment process, to the follow-up, to how you want to grow your business and maybe hire your first salesperson yourself. So it kind of covers the entire thing, and making sure with the follow-up that you're taking advantage of the opportunity to ask for referrals and create kind of a flow of warm clients back into you. So that's, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really an excellent course especially for newbies who don't like selling or are unfamiliar with the process. Yeah. Where can people find this course, Jessie?
Yeah, my website, it's easy. My my middle initial is Q, which is always weird, but it's Jessie Q Sales Coaching. So it's jessieqsalescoaching.com is my website. And so the information on my course is there. I have some YouTube, I'm on Instagram. So all of it's kind of, you can find at that one hub.
That's absolutely excellent. And have you written a book about your sales process?
No. Maybe that's coming down the road. I don't know, but no, I haven't yet. No.
Oh, that's always in the pipeline, a book. I mean, I've got
I guess
several
so.
books
Yeah.
in my brain, but and most of them are written, but it's just a matter of putting them out there. It's like
yeah. And the interesting thing to me, like sales is an ever evolving thing because it's about human conversations, right? So like, I believe I'm a learner. So I believe I can always get better at things, right? Like even though I've been doing sales for 25 years, I can always get better at having better and better communication, right? So like, and sales is such an individual, like, yeah, there's a framework you can put over it and you can learn the skills of communication, but then each stands alone. Each conversation stands on its own. And that's the beauty of it. That's what keeps it fun and interesting and invigorating and fulfilling at the same time, because each person is so unique.
Yeah, you've got to keep your learning skills up all the time, because
absolutely.
I mean things just change overnight pretty much in most
do.
areas. Jessie, would you like to share some words of wisdom, a little tidbit, perhaps a tip with our audience today?
I think the best thing I could share with anyone who is new to sales is really, as you said, you kind of want to look at it from your client's perspective. You want to put yourself in the buyer's shoes, disconnect yourself from making a sales call, and think about just building a great conversation, like an impactful conversation with the person who you're with. Because if you're thinking of it as a sales call, you're going to forget about the human being on the other side of the call. And so the more you can make it about just a great, powerful, connected conversation to find out what they're struggling with, and if you can help them, that's the outcome. That's the outcome that you want. And that will carry you so much further. I mean, it's been my experience that gets you way more sales in the long run than ever trying to push for a sale. So if I could share that with everybody and everybody just takes that to heart, that would be wonderful.
That's such great advice, Jessie. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today and learning about the sales process.
Same with you, Rose.
Well, I look forward to talking to you again sometime in the future.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Talking with the experts.